Hello friends, how are you? Hope you guys are all well. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today my topic is electrochemical double layer capacitors. That what it is. So before me to my topic, all you guys should please subscribe my YouTube channel and don't forget to watch my previous video. So dielectric electric field load resistance figure 1 schematic of the conventional capacitors. The internal components of the capacitor, current collectors, electrodes and dielectric material also contribute to the resistance, which is measured in aggregate by the quantity known as the equivalent series resistance. The voltage during the charge discharge is determined by the resistance when measured by the matched impedance. The maximum power P max for a capacitor is given by ESR Vp cross is equal to 42 max. This relationship shows how the ESR can limit the maximum power of the capacitor. Conventional capacitors have relatively high power densities but relatively low energy densities when compared to the electrochemical batteries and to fuel cells. That is a battery can store more total energy than a capacitor, but it cannot deliver it very quickly, which means its density is low. Capacitors, on the other hand, store relatively less energy per unit of mass or volume, but what relative electrical energy they do store can be discharged rapidly to produce a lot of power. So their power density is usually high. Supercapacitors are governed by the same basic principles as conventional capacitors. However, they incorporate electrodes with much higher surface areas, a much thinner dielectric that decreases the distance between the electrodes. Thus, from the equation 2 and 3, this leads to an increase in both capacitance of energy, and furthermore, by the maintaining the low ESR characteristics of conventional capacitors, supercapacitors are able to achieve comparable power densities. Additionally, supercapacitors have several advantages over the electrochemical batteries and fuel cells, including higher power density, shorter charging time, and longer cycle life and shelf life. Uh, Figure 2 provides a schematic diagram of the supercapacitors illustrating some of the physical features of the described above. The positive electrode current collector applied voltage separate current collectors, negative electrodes. After that, the load resistance positive electrode current collector applied voltage separator current collector negative electrode. After that, the load resistance schematic of an electrochemical double layer capacitors. The performance improvement of the supercapacitor is shown. A graph termed as a dragon plot. This type of graph represents the power densities of the various energy storage devices measured along the vertical axis versus their energy densities measured along the horizontal axis. It is seen that supercapacitors occupy a region between the conventional capacitors and batteries. Despite greater capacitance than conventional capacitors, supercapacitors has yet to match the energy densities of mid to high end batteries and fuel cells. Thus, much of the literatures surveyed for this overview focuses on developing improved types of or classes of supercapacitors to make the energy densities more comparable to those of batteries. These capacitors and trends are reflected in the taxonomy of the supercapacitors presented in the next section. Taxonomy of the supercapacitors based upon the current R&D trends. Supercapacitors can be divided into three general classes: electrochemical double layer capacitors, pseudo-capacitors, and hybrid capacitors. Hybrid capacitor. Each class is characterized by its unique mechanism for storing charge. These are respectively non-Faraday, okay, non-Faraday and Faraday, a combination of the two. Okay, so I think this is enough for today's topic. So time to go. Goodbye. Meet you in the next video.